Adnastana. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom, assalamu alaikum, Adnastana. Pleasure to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio, and not only continuing our journey, but following up on a previous segment of Points of Light Radio that you saw here on July 22nd of 2024. In that segment, we shed some light on a defunct fraternal order that called the Order of Foresters. Now, I told you in that segment that they had essentially amalgamated and morphed into the Foresters Friendly Society. And I was unable at that point to get in touch with any of them. Well, recently, you saw a gentleman here named Bourke Mancini, and he is a member of the Court Pendennis. I hope I said that right. And he's the deputy court secretary for that particular organization. So let's follow up on that segment and see what the Foresters Friendly Society is like today.
Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Mr. Mancini, welcome to Points of Light Radio.
Thank you very much, Stan, and hello to you and hello to all your listeners.
Yes, and you're back here today because I interviewed you on the Oddfellows, but you are a member as well of the Foresters Friendly Society in the UK.
That's right, indeed. Originally, it used to be the Ancient Order of Foresters.
Yes.
And of course, down the generation, it has morphed to become the Foresters Friendly Society. It still exists. It's not been around quite as long as the Oddfellows, of which I'm a proud member, but it's been around a long time since, the Ancient Order was founded back in the 1830s, so it's been around a long time.
And I guess, how long have you been a member?
I've actually been a member, not as long as I've been an Oddfellow. I've actually been a forester for about 4 years now. And oddly enough, I was invited to take up membership, not only by a forester, but the same gentleman happens to be immediate past provincial Grand Master in the Oddfellows as well. He's in both organisations, and so now am I. And I must say, Stan, that since I've joined the Foresters, I find that about 2/3 of members of the Foresters are also members of the Oddfellows, and the other way round as well. So membership of one doesn't decline you membership of the other, so to speak.
Are any of them members of, shall we say, the Masons or any of the other fraternal bodies as well?
Oh, yes. We've got members of the Foresters and, in fact, members of the Oddfellows who are members of Freemasons as well. Quite honestly, how they find the time to do it all, I really don't know, but they seem to, and they seem to do well. In fact, I've done a bit of research, and I've gone back through some very, very old records. I'm lucky to live in a town where we have the archives for the whole of Cornwall, the sort of official archives, and there has always been considerable fraternity between various orders. And it was interesting to see that back in the 1950s, members of the Oddfellows and the Foresters engaged regularly in competitions and events. And in fact, both of them availed themselves of local Freemasonic lodges to go and have meals and so on, So I don't know whether that's a widespread thing or whether that's the sort of thing that happens in a smaller place as I live in. But, it was going on. And in fact, it still does go on. We do get on extremely well, members of various organizations. And of course, we respect the principles that those organizations were built on.
And No, where do you meet though?
The foresters, certainly in Devon and Cornwall, I'm in Cornwall. The foresters in Devon and Cornwall are broken down to what we call courts, which are, you could consider them as branches or lodges, if you like. They don't any longer, sadly, in my opinion, they don't have any of their own properties anymore. They're a little bit different from Oddfellows. The foresters actually rent community halls, village halls, hotel conference rooms, and conference centres and so on. And they conduct their business there.
Mm-hmm. Now, what exactly does the Foresters Friendly Society do then? What's their role?
Well, they offer for payment of a membership fee, which is certainly in my court. I'm a member of Court Pendennis, but I'm also I'm assistant secretary of that court. But I also sit on the area committee. And in fact, I've been picked to be future chief ranger within a couple of years. They basically, in our court, we charge £25 membership a year. And that gives you access to several things. Now, if you hit hard times, there's a fund available to help. The foresters also, if you've got children in school, they make annual book grants towards educational books for people that are studying for examinations or certain, qualifications, diplomas, degrees, and what have you in college. They also pay a medical allowance, which is a bit broader than Oddfellows. The Oddfellows pays a dental allowance and an optical allowance, although there are other allowances to be had if you need convalescence and so on. The foresters have a general medical allowance, which equates after your first year of membership to around, you can claim around up to about £50 a year towards medical fees, which is worth having, quite honestly. And also, I can't disclose personal details, but a member of the foresters recently hit hard times. His property was badly damaged during extremely bad weather, and one of the fellow members put him forward as a special case, and he received a particular little sum of money to help him through his particular issues. But equally, I've seen the Oddfellows do exactly the same. There are very, very great similarities. In fact, the gentleman who introduced me to foresters and acted almost as my sponsor to join said he described the Oddfellows and foresters as sister organizations. And I suppose they could be regarded as such.
Mm. Now, do the Foresters Friendly Society have a degree system or practice any of the ritual? I know you were talking, they still use the names of the different officers, but do they practice the ritual?
Very, very little now, and I'm very sad to see that. There has been talk of reintroducing it. And in fact, a few people who are extremely keen on this, and you could count me amongst that, but further away from me than I am, have set up a special foresters court or branch called Court Heritage. And it is their aim to try and reintroduce the full ritual into the foresters. And I would be very, very pleased to see that. I think there's a lot to be learned from the Oddfellows, and when you become a member of the Oddfellows, of course, you can disregard the ritual side and just go to the friendship groups and the social groups, or you can do the more ceremonial side. Mm-hmm. I choose to do both. I not only do I do the ceremonial side, I'm noble grand, as you know, of a lodge, of an Oddfellows lodge, but I also fully participate in all the social functions, as I participate in the social functions that the foresters offer as well. And once a month we meet as members of the court to go out and visit something. Last month we had a wonderful visit to some ornamental gardens, followed by a nice lunch together. But that's in addition to the business meetings. So each business meeting is opened formally, though, and we put on the collarettes, which in the Forester's case are green, and we sit around the table in order of precedence. Each officer sits in his appropriate, or her, because the Foresters is male or female, just like Oddfellows. And we sit in order of precedence, with the meetings being chaired by the Chief Ranger. And each meeting is opened by a salute to the Chief Ranger. And then the meeting is conducted quite formally, but without ceremony. And it is closed formally. And I can disclose this, it's not a secret. The Chief Ranger is saluted with a certain set of words.
Yeah.
And then basically the Foresters honour the tradition of taking an apple from a tree, taking a bite, and sharing it with the Chief Ranger. And that is, the mark of a Forester. You get an apple from a tree, take a bite, and you share it with the Chief Ranger as a mark of respect. A lot of people will find that a bit odd, but I think it's rather charming, And similarly, at the end of a meeting, we conduct a similar set of words, and we salute the Chief Ranger who closes the meeting. When you take up a position in Foresters on either a court committee, branch committee, or an area committee, you do have to take an undertaking, an oath. Some might call it. I wouldn't call it as heavy as an oath, really, but you get your card and you read from that card and you're led through it. So it's a very, very watered down ceremony, which I think is a bit sad, really. It would be good to see it back in full practice, in my opinion. I have great hopes for Court Heritage. I'm a member of it. I put some of my money their way to try and look after the old traditions, which I value. I really value, Stan, and I expect a lot of your listeners will as well.
And so it sounds to me like you're using some of the ritual, but like you say, there is a move to bring back the full ritual and degree system with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in bringing that back. How successful it will be, I don't know, but we can but hope. I personally hope it comes back.
Well, you sound like me. I really like ritual. I
do. I'm an Anglican. I go to church Sundays. I'm on the parochial church council as well. And at church, I like a certain set service. A certain way of affairs running. And with the Anglican Church, there's High Anglican, which rather resembles Catholicism, really. And I'm not a Roman Catholic, but I do respect Roman Catholics. Of course, the two friendly societies that I'm a member of respect no particular religion, but respect them all, if you understand what I say. But I like ritual. I like to follow certain patterns. And it may be just me, but which is why, I make no secret of it. I was a Freemason, and I was one until the later 80s, when my career took me far away, and I paid up my lodge dues and left in good standing with an open invitation to come back. But I never took that invitation up. But
no.
In recent times, the Oddfellows stepped in, and then the Foresters have stepped in. So I tend to put my efforts that way. We do get on with the Freemasons, and I was in a Freemasonic lodge a couple of months ago for social do, but I went there as a member of one or the other. I can't remember now whether it was Oddfellows or Foresters. We went in and we had a wonderful time, and that was as part of their social program. Now, and we wore what we normally wear, but I just enjoy the ritual. Ritual is a word with many connotations, of course. Ceremonial is a word I quite like. A lot of people.
There's a time for contemporary. I've always said that, but I do like, for instance, when I go to a church or something, I like to hear I do like to sing a few hymns, not just this regular modern worship. And it's the same with, there is a space in fraternalism for organizations that don't have the rituals, that don't have degree systems. But I like rituals and degrees. I prefer those kinds of organizations myself, simply because it's something, those degrees and those rituals give you lessons not just for your lodge, but for your life. And they also help bind the members together. We have that common experience. I can talk about people who went through, when I go to a lodge, I can sit down with brothers and sisters in that lodge, and we can talk about the time we went through this degree or what it was like. It's something, it's a common experience, and I like that.
Indeed. Stan, you've taken the words right out of my mouth. You're absolutely spot on. And I concur with absolutely everything you say. That time-honored ceremonial, that time-honored ritual creates a sense of belonging, a sense of responsibility to the organization, and a sense of shared fraternity. And we always say, and I've said it to people who've come to both organizations, we're there if you need us, but you join us to give. And, basically, we don't want people that join either organization who are, the first thing they're going to do when they can is start filling out claim forms. We encourage people to give before they receive. And for example, I visit many members of both organizations who are in need. And I do that as a complete volunteer, as a welfare visitor. And it's my pleasure to do that. It's my absolute pleasure to do that for them. Many of them are older than I am. And I'm not so young myself anymore, but and it's great to help out somebody, and it creates that sense of belonging. Only today, I put a letter in the post to a member. He's in his 90s. Would you believe this gentleman? He's not on the internet. He doesn't. He wouldn't. I don't suppose, with every respect, he would know how to use the internet. Some 90-year-olds might, But I take the time once a month to sit down and write him a letter, a bit of a chatty newsletter. He's an honorary member. He paid his dues for 30, 40, 50 years. So it's my privilege to do that. It's my privilege to keep in touch with him. And I think that's what both organizations are about. We're about, it's a great leveler. They're great levelers. It doesn't matter your background once you step foot inside a lodge of Oddfellows or a court of foresters. It's a wonderful leveler. We're all men and women. I know with the Masons, I think they have female lodges now. I'm not sure. I was a member of a male-only lodge back. But it's moving forward. I appreciate that, but I respect tradition, and I think you do too. And I bet a dime to a dozen that the bulk of your listeners do as well.
Very, very true. And what do you feel, though, that the Foresters Friendly Society? What do you think they can offer, though? What do you think it has to offer those who are thinking of joining?
Well, it certainly offers friendship. And you could say that equally of all organizations of this nature, I suppose. It offers a lot of friendship. It offers great networking. It offers the ability to give charitably. For example, in the UK, the Foresters this year, they've picked the chief ranger of the whole the fraternal foresters in the UK has picked a charity called the Rivers Trust, which seeks to clean up the country's rivers, many of which are polluted and so on and so forth. And this charity, it was set up to clean up the rivers. And this year, the Chief Ranger has decided to nominate that charity as their charity for the year. And right across the UK, people are taking part, foresters are taking part in charitable efforts to raise money for that charity. It's a bit more of an unusual charity. Normally, the charities are people related, but I guess it's good to clean up the environment a bit as well, if you understand what I mean. It offers the ability to have somebody to turn to in times of need. Both organisations do. The Foresters, I've seen it happen only, as I say, only this week, where a member, it came to the attention of another member that a member was in need, and a short note was put in. The trustees considered it of that individual's court, and a financial grant has been made. So, it really does exist as an organisation that accepts help, but also gives help. And I think that's what fraternity is.
Yes. And I've said that before in this podcast so many times that, yes, we do have our rituals. Yes, we do have our passwords and our grips and, our secret work. But at the end of the day, and the real work is the good work that we do, and that good work begins in-house. Brothers and sisters taking care of one another. And I think that's what, more than anything else, that's really what fraternalism is about.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's why I think probably it flourished in the past. And, I always say to the, to the senior members, by that, I mean, high level in both organizations, I cannot for the life of me understand why we don't have a queue of people down the street wanting to join these organizations, particularly in these days in which we find ourselves. I mean, Stan, you don't need to be completely, blind to know that this world is in an unholy mess one way or another, and the friendly societies that still exist create a sense, a network, a net, a safety net, and they're as relevant today as they were when they were formed.
Very true. Well, Mr. Mancini, thank you for your time today. All the best to you and the Foresters Friendly Society, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so very much, Stan, and fraternal best greetings, and to your listeners the world over. I know you've got listeners across the world, and fraternal best wishes to you all. And don't ever lose hope in your fellow man. A lot of us out there realize there are better ways ahead to be had for us all. And let our membership of something that we hold true to our hearts be a beacon in dark times.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. Wasn't that wonderful having Mr. Mancini back here? And wasn't it wonderful kind of following up on the segment we did on the Foresters? I'm really happy to see that they're still around in the form of the Foresters Friendly Society. I would love to follow up with the insurance company that finally took over the Woodmen of the world as well, because it would be interesting to see where that went. And as well, I'd like, what's your opinion? How do you feel about the Foresters Friendly Society, right, in light of some of the other segments you saw done on here, like, for instance, the Artisans of Mutual Protection, right? I love the fact that some of these insurance companies and friendly societies are still kind of practicing a tiny bit of ritual. That's what it sounds like to me, that the Foresters Friendly Society is still practicing a little bit of the ritual, some of the more formal stuff, but they're still not doing any of the degree work or secret work. So I'm happy to see that Mr. Mancini is actually leading in that effort to restore some of that. It'd be wonderful to see that. Those as I've said before, those rituals, that degree work really helps, I think, bring the members together much more tightly. But I will say this as well. I was so happy to hear him talk about how a brother fell on hard times within the Foresters Friendly Society, and his fellow members actually helped them out financially. We do you heard me say this, we do a tremendous amount of ritual work and good work, things like that, a lot of charitable works. But at the end of the day, that's really at the very core of what fraternalism is really all about, right? Is the brothers and the sisters, the members, being there for one another. That's really what this is about, brothers and sisters. I mean, people can talk about all the secrecy and all. No. At the end of the day, that's really what fraternalism is all about, right there. Right? I'm so happy. As I said, I was happy to have him back. Happy to hear, to follow up on the Foresters Friendly Society. Like I said, it's incredible. And I definitely want to have Mr. Mancini back here as well, and fellowshipping with him some more. But that's all I have time for today, brothers and sisters. As usual, before I go, I want to draw your attention to the PayPal link in the details section of this particular segment. You can go there, make a voluntary donation to Points of Light Radio. We will use that to move the podcast forward. I also want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. I also welcome your comments and input. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. My X handle is at PO Light Radio. You can see the link to my Bluesky handle, which is at POLightRadio.bsky.social. You can see the link to my Spotify channel, as well as my Points of Light Radio store. Brothers and sisters, it's been a pleasure fellowshipping with you here today. And until we meet again, just step into the light.